yourself now, or to live in the wish fulfilled, as it's often called. But lately I've been having a real challenge with this. I'm just wondering if you could help me out with what are some limiting beliefs that might prevent me from doing this. And yeah, that's about it. And thank you so much, Bashar. Shavai.
Again, it's all back to the formula, because again, it contains all the tools that will allow you to investigate yourself, to discover limiting beliefs that don't serve you and let them go. Again, you must have honest self-examination while you're acting on your passion to the best you can. Don't assume, don't insist, stay in a positive state no matter what manifests, because it needs to be there for some reason that could serve you. If you stay in a positive state, you will get the benefit from it. Constantly examine your belief systems, letting go of the ones that are fear-based or negative that don't serve you. Negative beliefs can be of service depending on how you use them in positive ways. For example, you are obviously using a negative mechanism to limit your consciousness to be able to have a physical reality experience, because you are naturally much bigger than the idea of your physical reality personality. But the idea is that it comes with all the tools necessary to allow you to continue not only to act on your passion, but to continue to examine yourself, to explore yourself, and to hone your skills at having better discernment about what is and isn't relevant for the themes that you chose to explore. Let synchronicity guide you. Remember, there is the synchronicity we call the green light synchronicity that will say, here's an opportunity you are able to act on that will manifest what you need. And here's the synchronicity that says, stop, no, don't go down that path. Don't beat your head against the wall. This is not your path right now. It may become your path later. It may not. But synchronicity using the go and the stop red light mechanism will create a corridor for you to travel down that is representative of the path you chose to be in this life. So rely on the efficacy of the automatic things built into the formula to guide you by simply continuing to act on the formula to the best you can. Good day.
Hello, Bashar.
Good day.
Good day. It's good to meet you. I hold deep appreciation for you and for your channel, Darryl.
All right, thank you. We deeply appreciate all of you as well, and it is our passion and our pleasure to interact with you this day. What would you like to discuss?
I would like to discuss one topic. I have this feeling of constant nostalgia, and let me explain.
Yes.
When I get into relationships, for me, relationships are forever. For that reason, I relate very much to what you say about your civilization, that you're all married to one another in a way. And I see that humans, they move on from relationships, or at least I perceive it to be that way. Whereas I remain constantly and always, forever, they always remain in my heart. And yes. I don't know if that frequency is in some way matched by them.
Well, in some ways it depends, but the idea is it doesn't mean you have to physically be together for the relationship to continue to exist.
Mm-hmm.
The relationship is a thing of reflection, a thing of energy. It doesn't necessarily always have to be represented by the physical presence of an individual to know that you will always contain the information and energy and experience of that relationship, and therefore the relationship lives on in some way, shape, or form. So yes, all relationships are, in a sense, forever, but that doesn't imply that they have to physically be.
Understood. Okay. I also feel that to some extent I can feel people's souls.
Yes.
And I would like to know if when I feel their souls, do they feel mine feeling theirs to some extent?
Depends on the person, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. Depends on what they're believing that they're capable of doing, how sensitive they are to different frequencies and vibrations of different levels of consciousness. Some of them may, some of them may not. Now, they will always on some level be aware of it, whether they're consciously aware of it or not, but they may not be consciously aware that they're doing so. So the answer is yes and no, depending upon what level you're looking at.
Understood. Okay. On another topic, I'm starting to believe that I create my own reality, and that I really have power to become anything I want, anything I wish for, and
anything that is relevant for your theme. Not anything, anything. because things are not necessarily all relevant for this life you're experiencing.
Exactly. Okay. Yeah. Um, However, the people around me growing up, they have told me that that I shouldn't believe in these fairy tales, that I shouldn't trust myself. So I struggle with self trust. I believe, or more like
All right.
confident.
Well, it may be simply a version of a reflection of what I just said to you. You may be making too general of a statement, and they may be simply reflecting back to you in their own way that what you actually mean to say is, yes, you can achieve what's relevant for you, but not necessarily anything beyond that. And therefore, that just simply may be your way of getting a reflection to focus on the idea of making sure that you're not just wishing yourself beyond the relevance of this particular physical experience, because that would make no sense. So you can look at it that way, as a reflection to remind you it's about what's relevant, not just anything you wish for. Because you could wish for things that have nothing at all to do with the theme that you're exploring of this life.
Yeah.
So you can look at it that way.
Yeah. Okay. And how can I tell when I'm not, say, deluding myself? That is, believing in things that are not truly my
All right. Well, it's a matter of discernment. It's a matter of honest self-reflection about what your reason is for saying that you prefer something to happen. So if you're really honest in your self-examination of your beliefs, if you understand the reasons at your core of why you are asking for this, then it's easier to tell the difference. So can you give us a specific example?
I think one of my purposes in this life is to love and to become a master of relationships, so to speak.
All right. Well, that's an expression of your purpose. Your purpose is to be yourself. It's the same as everyone's purpose. But that can be an expression of your purpose. But all you have to do is follow the formula to know whether or not it is. Act on your passion to the best you can. No assumption, no insistence on what the outcome ought to be. Remain in a positive state no matter what happens, and continue to explore and examine your belief systems and let go of the ones that are fear-based or negative, that simply are out of alignment with who you truly prefer to be. So if it is true that you need to become a master of relationships, that will automatically happen through the synchronicity that's built into the idea of following the formula, because it will bring you the opportunities to act on that will get you there. If it doesn't bring you those opportunities, that's your first clue that it's either not your expression of purpose right now, or it's not your expression of purpose. But it will always bring you the opportunity to act on that is the expression of your purpose, by making sure that the opportunity contains the ability to be acted on, and that it has more excitement or more passion, even just a little bit more, than any other option you could be acting on. That's how you tell the difference of what your path is and what it is not. Is this helping?
It is. Thank you. If I may, I wanted to ask you something about one of the fundamental laws, and
Yes.
it's the one, everything changes but the laws.
Yes.
About the everything changes. So I struggle with this one, and I will tell you how.
Yes.
I understand that everything changes, but in a way, and this is related to one of the first questions that I asked you. I would like to feel, or I would like it to be true, that I'm in a constant, permanent, eternal relationship and a connection with all the human beings and all the things.
Well,
And
you are.
Okay.
How can you not be? You can create an experience of not being, but the only way you can create an experience of not being connected is by actually using your connections to create that experience. You see, this is the paradox principle. The idea is expressed more often than not by these following illustrations. There is no such thing as a lack of confidence. You can create an experience of lacking confidence, but when you create an experience of lacking confidence, you're confident that you lack confidence. So you actually are confident about something, even though you're using your confidence to create an experience that you lack confidence. There's no such thing as being out of control, because when you create an experience of being out of control, you're controlling that. Therefore, there's no such thing as being out of control. There's no such thing as a lack of trust, because you're always trusting something to be true. Even though you may be trusting that you lack trust, you're still using your trust to create that experience. You cannot be disconnected from all that is, because all that is one thing. Even though it may express itself as an infinite multitude of reflections that appear to be different things, they're all still reflections of the same one thing. So you can't really be disconnected from all that is, but you can create varying experiences of disconnection in order to play the games that you've agreed to play. For example, you have agreed on some level to limit your ability to express yourself as the full being that you are in order to have a physical experience. But you're doing that for a positive reason of discovering yourself through a new avenue, of discovering yourself from a new point of view. And that's how creation expands. Because the core structure, the laws, never change, but your relationship to those laws, your relationship to the structure, your perspective of the structure is constantly changing, and that's what expands existence in terms of the experience of existence of itself, but it never expands the structure or nature of existence. Does that help?
It does, Bashar. Thanks very much. These are all the questions that I had, and
All
truly
right.
appreciate love you.
All right, our unconditional love to you as well. Good day. Suggested that you take an illustration of either a hybrid or a gray that is provided for you to download in this transmission, and cut it out, blow it up, paste it on some stiffer background, cardboard or foam core or whatever you wish that allows it to be rigid. Blow it up to the point where the head of the image of the gray or the hybrid, from the top of the crown to the bottom of the chin, fills one of your typical 8.5 by 11 inch pages, and therefore allow the rest of the neck and the shoulders to be whatever size they will be by following that measurement. And once, as we have described before, it has been placed on a rigid background, then place that cutout outside one of your windows, or more than one, as if it is peeking through the window at you, to get used to the idea as you're simply going about your daily business of now and then, out of the corner of your eye or more directly, catching that image, especially at nighttime, peeking in at you, so that you can get used to the idea over time that there are interactions going on between those beings and yourself. And as you become more used to the idea of seeing them there, allowing yourself no longer to be startled by those particular images, and starting to relate to those images pasted outside your window as if they are real three-dimensional beings looking at you physically through your window. So again, you can get used to the idea that interactions are going on, whether you are aware of them or not. This technique, as we have described it previously in that transmission, will allow you more ability to accept that these beings are in your reality, and allow you more efficacy at actually being able to perceive them, the real beings, as they enter your reality and observe you and start to interact with you. This is for the purpose of making sure that you can begin to experience now, from this point forward, those interactions on a more conscious basis, on your own terms, as equals, without fear, so that you can not only remember some of the encounters you've already had that you may have forgotten one way or another, whether they were suppressed by the grays or the hybrids, or whether you suppressed them out of fear, doesn't matter. The idea now is that as you develop more of an equilibrium between yourself and your vibration and these beings, you can begin to remember the encounters you've already had, and can become more aware and conscious of any future encounters as well. Now, to add to this and continue this process forward to get you, again, more used to the idea of open contact, because now we are starting bit by bit to proceed toward the beginning of the window at the end of 2023, of open contact, starting slowly, bit at a time. But more and more of these kinds of exercises will be shared with you, suggested for you, to give you, again, more ability to experience open contact in a way that is beneficial to all, without fear. And so what we will now add to this exercise, which you can keep doing to get, again, yourself used to this idea, and especially now that some of your military officials have begun the first stages, small stages, yes, but the first stages nonetheless of disclosure, by validating certain videos as authentic of UFOs. This is the beginning, the very, very beginnings of opening up to disclosure that we exist. So let's begin to take advantage of that momentum by adding to the previous exercise of the cutouts peeking at you through windows, by now allowing you, when you notice them at any time during the day or night, face them, walk up to them more closely on your side of the window or the glass door or wherever you have pasted them so that they appear to be peeking in at you. Walk up to them, maybe at about a distance of, let's say, 3 feet. And once you are in that position and looking at them and allowing yourself to feel comfortable looking at them, allow yourself to say the following words. I see you. I recognize you. I invite you to invite me to participate more openly, more consciously, without fear. And I introduce myself to you as a friend of the messenger, as a friend of Bashar, as a friend of the hybrids, as a friend of the children who will come to live among us. And I am open in whatever way serves everyone best to participate in the ongoing program of evolution that will allow Earth to move forward and become the 6th hybrid race. I allow this on my own terms, in an experience of comfort, in an experience of love, in an experience of allowance on both sides. And I allow myself to come into more awareness, more conscious recognition, more conscious realization of the ongoing encounters in my life and the participation of all of my counterparts and connections and my soul, family, and spirit guides and higher mind in this endeavor. For all concerned with love and peace. You may write all this down. You may read it out loud when you are facing that image. And if you wish, at the end, you can add, this is up to you. Bashar sent me, and I am here. We will leave that part up to you. Remember to do this with no insistence, no assumptions, just allowance, bit by bit. You can do this once a day if you wish, twice a day if you wish. You don't have to do it more than 3 times a day, but we will leave that up to you. And it doesn't have to last any longer than the reading we just gave you. But be earnest, be open, and if you feel any trepidation or fear, that is all right. You can stop, you can adjust, you can breathe, you can relax, you can even stop and start again later if you wish. This is all about getting comfortable with the existence of these beings in your reality and getting comfortable with your existence in our reality. So that again, you are creating and building up a frequency that is representative of the third reality between the both of our realities, respectively. That will be the reality in which open contact will occur to the best of all concerned. So practice this every day if you wish, to guide yourself more and more into the frequency of open contact. And we welcome you in this exercise and in this endeavor. So tell them Bashar sent you. We thank you now for allowing us to deliver this next phase of this exercise to you. Have fun with it, enjoy it, relax into it, be creative with it, and just be yourself and keep moving forward. And in return for this gift you have given us, in allowing us to suggest this to you, I ask you now, in what way may we be of service to you? You may begin with your questions and comments if you wish.
You attract. However, you say the beliefs are what generate thoughts and feelings, and therefore create a reality, one level above thought. When I used to listen to them, I was so obsessed and focused, monitoring 24/7 what I was thinking, all the time. And if a negative thought came to my mind, I was like, cancel, freaking out. However, you taught us that not only can we observe them neutrally, here and there, when they come, but that we have to, in order to face our fears and transform them and integrate them. You cannot transform what you do not own, as you say. And also, I was driving one day on a highway while listening to them, and I had a car crash. Nothing happened to me, thankfully. It was just the side of my car. But I was like, this shouldn't have happened while I'm listening to them, supposedly vibrating this high. So I wanted some clarity on those teachings. What's your true perspective about them? Thank you.
Different teachers have different ways of reaching different people with the translation of the words that come into your reality. There are people that gravitate to certain ways, certain semantics, certain words that are used to give them at least some understanding of the process. Other teachers may supply other aspects of it to give a different understanding, or at least an understanding of a different part of the process. Taken all together, you have a complete picture. But that doesn't necessarily mean that an absolutely complete picture or the same delivery will come through every single being that is a source of information. That's why it's so important for you in your evolution, as you change, as you grow, to pick the pieces out of any source of information that work for you and leave the rest behind. It may simply mean that you're now at a different place in your life where you need to hear things and do things in a different way. And therefore you gravitate to maybe one teacher one time and another teacher or another source another time, because you are piecing together from different sources what works for you to create the path of least resistance for who you truly prefer to be. So it's not so much the idea that there's any contradiction. You're simply looking at things from different points of view, using different ways and methods that appeal to different people who have different belief systems and need to hear things and receive things in different ways at different times. Now, with respect to the idea of your car crash, there can be many different levels on which you can look at this. Number one, on a very simplistic level, you can say that you may have created for yourself an experience that on the most simplistic, basic physical level simply says, pay attention to what's going on when you're doing something physically, because you can get hurt if you're not paying attention. So on the simplest level, the most basic physical level, you could simply say it's a lesson of don't be distracted when you're doing something like driving a car. Otherwise, this is what happens or can happen. That's a very simplistic lesson on a very basic physical level. On other levels, you could say, all right, you were in a state of being where you realized that by being in that state of being that no matter what happened around you, no matter how dangerous it seemed, you would emerge unscathed. And therefore, being on that level, in some sense, allowed you to experience a different reality than what you allowed the car to experience, proving to you that physical reality, in some sense, can be circumvented. And so that could be part of the lesson as well. So there can be many levels to this idea, but it is not always wise to assume that just because you believe you're on a certain level, that certain physical things can't happen. Because again, please remember, the basic concept is it's not about what happens, it's about what you do with what happens that shows what level you're on, what vibrational state you're in. So the idea is not that a car crash shouldn't have happened because I was on a high vibrational state. That's an insistence and assumption that doesn't necessarily serve the purpose of the experience, because it just demonstrated to you that just about anything can happen no matter what level you're on, because it's not about the idea of what happens, it's about the idea of what you do with what happens that really makes the difference in your experience of physical reality. So all these different things can come into play. It can be one or more or all of them, and it's up to you to determine what other lessons you can learn from having had that experience. But be open to the idea of not being insistent on what you think should or shouldn't be a reflection of the state you're in, because again, that really shouldn't matter.
Good day, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
Thank you so much for this co-creation. I'm so excited to talk to you.
It is our passion and our pleasure to speak with all of you as well.
I was surprised in your monologue. It's so playful.
Yes.
The suggestion, and also, you acknowledge that some people might be afraid to go in that way, but this playful way of approaching it, that must help us loosen. That must help us.
That's the idea. Yes.
And I also, when I was a child, was very terrified of. I don't know why. I had an inexplicable fear of,
yes,
alien contact.
Well, that's because as children, when many of these contacts actually start happening in your lives, you have never been taught that such a thing is actually going on in your reality, and therefore you haven't been given the tools in order to handle it. And so you feel that when you are shifted to the different realities that are representative of these different beings you're interacting with, you feel out of control. Your physical mind doesn't understand what's going on because it doesn't have the tools to deal with it. And therefore, you feel out of control, and even to the point of going into survival mode, because the physical personality feels that when being shifted from the typical reality you're used to a different frequency of reality, it feels like you are being annihilated, that you're dying, and so you go into panic mode. So the idea of what we deliver to all of you are the tools necessary to incorporate within your understanding of how reality works, how these encounters are occurring, and give you the ability to calm yourselves and realize that from a higher level you made a choice to participate in this, whether you remember it or not, and thus you can operate within it more consciously, with more awareness, on your own terms, and experience something quite fascinating and joyful and creative and constructive as you remember more and more your willingness to participate in the evolution of the Earth toward becoming the sixth hybrid race.
But when you say the evolution of the Earth,
yes,
you're kind of describing our, because we're in our own reality, right? Each of us is in our own reality.
Yes, but you have a shared, agreed upon experience that you call your reality timeline.
Right. Got it. And so, now I'm really excited for this to take place. I can't believe, I'm so excited that it's even possible in my lifetime, potentially.
Yes, it is.
And my physical mind looks out there at the world and things it thinks it's noticing, and thinks to itself, oh my God, we have to go so far between now and 2023 to be really prepared to have a
first of all, don't gauge that by everything you see. Remember that you are capable still of looking at people making choices that represent other realities other than the one you're actually in. Just because you can see them doesn't mean you're in the same reality.
Yeah, the glass wall effect.
Exactly. So don't necessarily include everyone that you see having to be at that point. It is sufficient that those that are ready at that point to begin to experience the first stages of open contact will be at a point where they're prepared to do so.
Okay. So is there a way to discern if something I'm seeing is actually relevant for me to kind of address, or it's just something behind the glass wall? I guess my highest excitement will take care of that.
Following the formula will allow you better and clearer discernment about what is relevant for you and what is not, yes. Of course, everything in a sense that you see is relevant. It just might be relevant in a different way. So in other words, it can be even as simple as seeing something you would say is not really relevant for your path doesn't mean that it's not relevant for you to use in a way that works for you. For example, seeing someone making choices that you don't prefer can add greater clarity to the choices that you do prefer. So even though the things they're choosing aren't directly relevant for you, the fact that you're capable of seeing someone choosing something you don't prefer is relevant because it provides greater background and clarity for you about what it is, by contrast, that you do prefer. So that's how to use what isn't relevant directly in an indirect way that is relevant for you.
And I guess also, if I see someone making a choice and it kind of triggers me emotionally, like maybe fear comes up, yes. And that's also an opportunity to look at what beliefs are.
Absolutely, and therefore relevant for you on that context as well.
Got it. And when I'm doing that, I try to look at my beliefs, go through the emotions to find the beliefs is kind of the way it seems to work for me.
Yes.
And but sometimes there are certain beliefs that just keep reappearing. And I know that you've mentioned that sometimes there can be belief systems and yes. Other beliefs reinforce the other ones, but certain beliefs like I'm wrong, or I shouldn't exist. I know those don't make physical sense because it's arguing with life, as you've eloquently put it, but somehow they stay sticky. And I'm just wondering if there's anything else you can help us with. Or
well, all right. Well, again, the idea being that you may need to investigate more deeply what it is you're getting out of holding on to those things. Because that's the only reason they would keep reoccurring, is there must be a belief that says there is some advantage to this, some advantage to remembering this or recreating this idea. Now, it can be as simple as you saying, well, I do have a belief that if I don't keep reminding myself, I might forget and then fall into a regimen that I don't prefer. So in that sense, you might be using it for a positive reminder to keep you on track. Now, if you continue to believe you need that reminder, then it will constantly be there reminding you to always be aware that you could choose to go this way, but because of the fact that it keeps cropping up, you will never go that way. You don't have to keep doing it that way, but that may be one reason why you would keep repeating an awareness of something you don't prefer, because you might be using it as a guidance system to make sure you actually never choose that direction.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. I think so.
So I'm not saying that is the reason. I'm simply saying that could be one of the reasons. It's up to you to investigate based on what I just told you about the idea that there must be something you're getting out of it.
Yeah.
That you believe serves you. Whether it actually does or not isn't the issue. There must be something you believe you're getting out of it that serves you. And the more you investigate it from that perspective, the sooner you will understand why you might keep repeating that cycle.
I'm trying to ask my question that question now. And actually what comes is this belief that it's keeping me small so I'm not seen.
Oh, all right. And why don't you want to be seen? What are you afraid will happen if you are seen? Which is another question to always ask. What are you afraid will happen if you become who you prefer to be? So what's the answer to that one?
It feels dangerous, like someone's going to come get me.
Dangerous. Oh, someone's going to come and get you. Yes. How melodramatic.
I know, it's true.
Now, this is simply the result of a misunderstanding of how frequencies work. Remember, if you actually are in the frequency of your true self, your passion, there cannot be, by definition, anything dangerous in that. If you suddenly feel that something dangerous might happen if you act on your passion, that's not a vibration of your passion. You're already out of the vibration of your passion to even think and entertain that something like that could happen.
I see. So the belief, the resistant belief has already kicked in.
Yes, because you are conflating and contradicting the idea of the definition of passion with a contradictory vibration of something dangerous happening to you, which, if you understand the pure definition of your true self, knows that that's not possible. You can only experience even the idea of the fear of something happening if you've already left the vibration of your true self, which shows you still have a belief that says it's better and safer for you to leave that vibration. Because you would know, just through the idea of understanding the physics of it, that you cannot experience what you're not the frequency of. So if you are the frequency of your true self and passion, then how can you experience anything that is actually truly dangerous to you? Why would you attract it?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
And again, at the same time, remember, that doesn't mean you won't see things that might symbolize the idea of what could be dangerous. But again, it doesn't matter what you see. It only matters what you do with what you see that makes the difference. And if you stay in your vibration of passion, you will always respond to what you're seeing, even if it's what you don't prefer, in a way that allows you to use it in a way you do prefer and get a benefit from it. So remember, being in the state of passion, your true self, doesn't mean you can no longer see things that are not representative of what you prefer. It simply means that you will respond to them differently, even if they still exist and are still perceivable in your reality. That's the measure of change. Many people on your planet confuse the idea that, oh, well, I'm on a different vibratory level, I should never be seeing these things again. That's not true. As you expand your consciousness, you don't become less aware of the negative, you become more aware of the negative, but you become less likely to choose it as your experiential reality. So the idea is, it doesn't really matter to a truly centered being what happens. It only matters to them what they do with what happens, because that's what makes the difference in their experience.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And
I know. That's why I said it.
Yeah, thank you. It's so interesting that the more we expand, actually, the more aware we become of negative choices.
Well, of course, because the idea of positive and negative and the center point permeates all of existence. Therefore, as you expand your awareness of more and more and more of existence beyond the physical, you're going to learn about more of the positive and more of the negative, as well as the center point in the trinity of neutrality and balance between the two.
I see. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Functions. Is it worthy? Does it have a real value? Is it superficial? Is it profound? Is it needed? So thank you so much for answering this question about art.
It depends on how the art was created. Art is a mirror that allows everyone perceiving the art to see reflections and symbols of what it is they need to see if they are willing to look. So sometimes art can be created through the idea of superficiality or something that's more profound, but it also requires the looker to come from either a superficial or a more profound place in order to get out of it whatever they need. And that part of it is up to them. But it's a mirror that offers an opportunity as a permission slip for people to look deeper within themselves, their consciousness, the archetypal symbols of the collective consciousness. Anything they wish to perceive about themselves can be seen in different kinds of art that are done for different reasons, according to what the belief system of the artist might be.
Hello, Bashar. How are you? My name is Dali. I'm from Chile.
Oh, all right. Good day.
Thank you very much for this experience. Well,
It is our pleasure.
When I was younger, I had an experience that led me to feel shame, guilt, and fear for many, many years. And as a side effect, I became more paranoid and vulnerable about interacting with other people and so on. Yes, and as a side effect, for many years, I developed this sense of vulnerability and paranoia with some other interactions.
Yes.
As fear, like, how can I explain this? I became more paranoid and vulnerable, and somehow irrationally, they get to link to this experience. So a month ago, I decided to work on this, and the reign of terror came to me. But now I see more clarity. But sometimes this anxiety, vulnerability, and paranoid feelings, they come to me, and I would like to know how to deal with them.
Well, you have to always start with what you now believe to be true about yourself in any given situation, because you cannot experience any emotion whatsoever if you don't already have a belief that you're buying into as being more probable than any other belief, as being true for you. So what beliefs do you have that would generate feelings that you're talking about?
Yeah.
What are they? What are they? What do you believe is true?
That someone would say something to me that I will feel vulnerable and more guilty and more ashamed that I have done before.
Why? Why would what someone says make you feel that way if you didn't believe it was true?
Because I guess the fear of guilt or feeling guilty.
You're talking in circles. You're talking in circles. You're saying that I am afraid to investigate the belief because it's going to make me feel more guilty, but the belief is what is making you feel guilty to begin with. So what do you believe you are guilty of?
Actually, for making a mistake to hurt someone.
Like what, for example?
I don't really want to talk about it. Like.
Then I can't help you directly, but I can help you indirectly.
Okay.
You said it was a mistake.
Yeah.
That means you didn't intend to hurt them?
No.
All right. Then why are you punishing yourself for making a mistake? Have you learned from making the mistake that you don't want to do that again?
Yes, I did.
Then if you have learned the lesson, why are you still in the class learning the lesson over and over and over again instead of moving on and applying the lesson that you've learned and then not making the same mistake?
Yeah, so I guess I went into that belief, and then I realized that I was afraid of rejection, actually.
All right.
So I've been working more on self-love.
Yes.
And now it's better.
All right.
So much better. I see with way more clarity.
All
it's
right.
just sometimes I still feel this little anxiety, or maybe it's kind of like there's a little bit of emotion that still lingers, but now
that's fine. That's fine. Just keep moving toward the understanding that you are worthy, that you are deserving.
Yeah.
Love yourself more and more, and understand it's all right now and then to make a mistake. It's not the end of the world, because if you're willing to learn from it, then you will improve. You will become a different person that will then behave differently in the world toward others. There is no reason for you to feel guilty about that process. It's how many people on your planet learn. So just go along with it. As long as you're willing to learn from the mistake, then there is no reason for you to feel guilty for having made the mistake.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
I know.
Now it feels so much better. I think synchronicities brought into my life many of the answers.
Yes, of course. That's how it works.
Yeah, indeed. And it's just sometimes just a little bit. I feel like scared of going out sometimes, but
at that moment, then stay with that. Don't go by it. Don't rush past it. Don't ignore it. Don't suppress it. Use that moment to find out what beliefs still remain within you that would create that anxiety. That's what that moment is for.
Perfect.
All right?
Perfect. May I ask you, is there any kind of affirmation that can help me open more that space?
That's up to you. Because affirmations are nothing more than permission slips that you give yourself to give yourself permission to change. So whatever you're attracted to use, the reason you're attracted to use it is because it will work for you.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. I've been meditating. It's been so much better. I just had that main question that helps me so much, Bashar.
All right. Well, obviously, in many ways, you're doing just fine. So the only thing we would suggest is don't be so hard on yourself. You don't deserve it. All right?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Good day.
Thank you so much.
Hey Bashar, this is Michael from Tel Aviv, and I'm happy to be speaking with you. My question has to do with lucid dreaming. You once gave us a permission slip technique on how to wake up in our dream state, and once we do that, we can ask to be taken to the template level reality and change around some agreements, change around the stories we believe we're living. So my question is, if I manage to do that, can I remove all the negative beliefs that I might still be holding on to and wake up the next morning into a reality that's a lot more representative of who I am, of what I want, that is more true to me? Or will that shift be too much for my physical mind to handle? Will the change be too big? Will I recognize the reality once I wake up? So my question really is, what is the best way to utilize the ability to lucid dream once that ability is acquired? Thank you and good day.
You can wake up into a reality that is certainly more representative. You will not necessarily eliminate all of the processes you might need to go through in order to create that reality that is more reflective of your preference. Obviously, you would be able to handle it if you did it because you would be equivalent to that reality. Therefore, the idea that you couldn't handle it would be contrary to that reality. But visiting the template doesn't mean you remove everything. It doesn't erase the idea of the general collective agreement of the game you're playing in the earth physical reality game, as you say. But you can change certain things as long as they don't eliminate processes you believe you actually need in order to experience a deeper appreciation of the new reality that you're creating. So yes, you can change it to some degree. That doesn't mean you can just change everything, because again, that might be another way of saying you're attempting to avoid things that you actually need to experience in order to really create that reality in the way that truly works for you.
Hello, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
Oh, great. How are you?
Perfect. And you?
Very good, thanks. My first
All right.
question is in regards to parallel universes, changing past and changing futures.
Yes, yes.
As far as the changing past, why would jumping from frame to frame change the past? It's the past and our choices that brought us to the present.
Yes. However, remember that if you actually become a different person, which you do, anytime you make any change at all, you're jumping into a different frame. So let's look at this from a space-time perspective logically. Because you create the idea in space-time of continuity or cause and effect, you think that what you went through made you the person you are today. And in a sense, that's true. However, when you finally decide to change, that new person needs a past that may be more logically the path that created that person. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, let's say, let's say I took a picture in the past and I go and look at it, it's still there. Even though I've
No, it's still here.
It's still from there, is right.
No, it's not. It's from here.
Yeah. Would it
You're
change?
creating an idea of a picture that you're looking at in the present as if it actually came from the past, but it doesn't. You're creating that picture in the present. And you're making the continuity assumption that it comes from the past. It doesn't.
So could that picture change in the present?
No.
No, okay.
That picture is that picture. This is one of the things that we address when we talk about the concept that you humans refer to as time travel. There's no such thing in the science fiction sense that you usually portray it. It's all about parallel reality. So we usually use this analogy. Let us say you are 10 years old and someone takes a picture. Now you have that picture, you put it on the table. There's the photograph of the 10-year-old. Now you become 30 and you invent a time machine. And you say, I'm going to go back into the past and I'm going to take a picture next to my 10-year-old self. And so you have that experience. You get in the machine, you go into what you think is the past, you go and find your 10-year-old self, or at least what you believe to be your 10-year-old self. You stand next to that particular 10-year-old, you have someone snap a picture. Now you have a picture of the 30-year-old and the 10-year-old, and you put that on the table when you come back to the present, so to speak. But you still have both pictures. There is a picture of the 10-year-old by himself and a picture of a 10-year-old with a 30-year-old, which obviously by definition, since both pictures exist, must be a different 10-year-old. So you just went into a parallel reality where you've taken a picture with a different 10-year-old that happens to look like you, assuming that it's actually you, but actually has nothing to do with your history.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yeah, I will.
Because both pictures simultaneously exist on their own. Each frame is its own frame. You don't change the frame in a movie film strip. You go to another frame to change the image.
Yeah, I get that.
All the film strip frames all exist. You set your course through them with your consciousness as to what frames are relevant for you. So that's why we're saying when you change yourself, different frames may be relevant for who you now are. And you may not remember that you've changed the past to make sense of your present new self. It may always seem to be the past you've always had, but you don't actually know that. It just looks that way.
Okay.
So 5 minutes ago, the you are now, or the you used to be, may have had a completely different past than what you remember as the past right now as the new person you are. But it will organize itself through continuity in physical space-time to make itself seem as if, oh yes, I've always had that past. But that's not necessarily true.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, that's a lot to think about. Thank you.
All right, play with it. You're welcome. Thank you. Yes.
One more. When did all that is think of another? When did it occur and what was before?
You're asking a space-time question. Remember, space and time are subject to all that is. All that is not subject to space and time.
So it was just always there.
Existence only has one quality.
To exist.
There you go.
Yeah.
It's not even an always, because that's a space-time word.
Yeah.
It just is. Does that help?
It will.
All right. Have fun with it.
I know this is a question, but do I have time for one more question?
Yes.
What does Jesus Christ's life, death, and rebirth represent for us here in physical reality? I'm also having a little trouble interpreting the dying for our sins part.
Yes, that is kind of, again, a human interpretation based on a fear-based belief system. The idea was to actually show you, if you go a little bit beyond the idea of the death, what came after.
Life.
Right? The idea of the resurrection, yes?
Reincarnation?
Resurrection.
Would it be translated to maybe reincarnation?
Not in the way that most people on your planet mean it, but the next transmission we're going to give next month of your time is all about the idea of reincarnation and how to look at it differently. So we can explain some of that later. But the idea right now is the whole process of an ascended master or a learned being going through that process on your behalf or on everyone else's behalf was to simply demonstrate the idea that while the body may seem to be impermanent, you as a being, as an entity, transcend time and space, and therefore no death is actually the end of anything.
Yeah. Okay, so the dying for our sins part, is that...
Let me retranslate it.
Yeah.
Yeshua went through that process and allowed the idea of the physical representation to seem to die in order to go beyond and show that a resurrection is the continuation of consciousness and the continuation of life beyond death, that you are greater beings than that. And the so-called dying for your sins simply means let me show you that you have fear-based belief systems that are limiting you from understanding what I'm about to show you.
Okay.
So, in other words, the fear-based belief system is what is colloquially being referred to as your sins, because they place limitations on your consciousness that don't need to necessarily be there.
Yeah. Okay.
Does that help?
It does.
All right, then thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hello, Bashar. This is Jethro from Amsterdam. My question is about what is called spiritual bypassing. It is a term that pops up lately a lot in my experience in the so-called spiritual communities. And it states that people are using knowledge or spiritual knowledge and teachings in a way so that they don't have to work on themselves and not have to face what's happening on their inside, and basically to stay in a constant positive state or in a elevated state. My question is, as this could be also an exploration of the higher self or a spirit, is there even such a thing as spiritual bypassing? All right. Thank you, and goodbye.
In the way that has just been described, no. Because the very idea of attempting to avoid looking at certain things within the self that might be necessary for the evolution of your spiritual growth is a contradiction in terms and a completely different energy state. Therefore, the moment that someone avoids, they are actually going down in vibration into the negative states. Therefore, they're bypassing nothing. So the idea is, yes, you can have moments where you're focused on the idea of your relationship with the higher mind, and it may not involve in that moment needing to look at something within yourself that you're attempting to avoid, but it can give you what you need to be better capable of handling that when it comes time for you to look at those things. But avoiding looking at those things is completely missing the point of having actual spiritual growth.